Hey friends, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, Karens, and all that kind of stuff. Hope you're all doing wonderful, and as usual, we're getting right into today's Reddit posts. Mom opened several accounts in my name and tanked my credit score. Now she's saying I should be grateful to her for giving me $30,000 in debt. This all started about a year ago when I was about to graduate college. I got a bill in the mail for a credit card which I knew wasn't mine. I've always paid my one credit card on time and it was from a different company. My mom said she added me on her credit card as an authorized user, which is why I received that bill. This ended up being red flag number 1. Fast forward to about a month ago and I'm looking into new apartments as I'm moving for my job. I found one I liked and applied for it, not thinking anything of it as my salary was well over their minimum requirements. I received an email saying my application was denied. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail explaining it was due to my credit. I figured it had to be a mistake, so I ended up taking a look at my credit score for myself. This was, I think, the first time doing it since I got my credit card a few years ago. I was floored when I saw my score, 490, and I had several accounts and collections. After some crying, I decided to call the electric company which one of the collection accounts was for, and they confirmed the address was my mom's current address. I got in touch with one of the credit card companies I saw, and the listed address was the same. I really didn't want to believe my mom opened these accounts, so I called her about them last week. She claimed to have no idea about the accounts and said I probably got hacked. She had never really done anything to betray my trust in the past, so I foolishly believed her at the time. One of my friends said I should report it to the police, or otherwise I could end up owing tens of thousands of dollars. I made a police report and gave them all of the information. I called my mom and told her about the police report, and she said I needed to call and cancel it because it wouldn't do any good. She tried saying it was just wasting their time and I should call it off and just ignore it. Of course I told her I couldn't do that because I didn't want to be on the hook for what ended up being around 30 grand. She said I had to do it because she opened the accounts. We went back and forth for about 20 minutes and I was pissed. She finally said I just needed to, quote, take the hit on this one and declare bankruptcy. She literally told me I should be grateful to her for letting me go to college, so I should cancel the police report before they find out it was her. Between scholarships, grants, and a small amount of student loan debt, she didn't pay for anything at all. I'm kind of conflicted. I don't really want my mom to go to jail, but from what I've read, declaring bankruptcy would basically prevent me from doing anything with my credit for a few years, and it would take a full decade to drop off. There are 9 accounts in total, with 3 in collections. Update. It's been several weeks since I posted, but things are starting to get better for me with my credit, though my family isn't happy with it. I didn't cancel the police report, as I wasn't going to take the hit on $30,000 in debt that wasn't mine. My mom and I have always gotten along alright growing up, and even through college when I'd come back home for the summers. I didn't hear anything back from the police after the initial report, other than a call from an investigator a couple of days afterward. He didn't really give me too much other information. I disputed all of the accounts with the credit agencies, and a couple of the accounts are already gone with the police report number. On Monday, my sister calls me and tells me my mom has been arrested. Apparently, she was on her way to work and she got pulled over, and the cop immediately addressed her by name. She was told she had a warrant and was arrested on the spot. She spent Monday night in jail and saw a judge yesterday. 4 counts of felony identity theft. The actual name for it is something else in legalese. At this point, the police still hadn't contacted me. She ended up getting released on recognizance, as she had never been arrested in her life and her only ticket was for expired tags 20 years ago. She hasn't called, but I've received calls from both my sisters, my uncle, and my grandfather. The calls ranged from telling me I should drop the charges, to one of my sisters absolutely screaming her head off at me. I ended up calling the police yesterday and speaking with a different investigator about the situation. He said it looked like the warrant came out a couple of weeks ago, and an officer probably ran her plate and the warrant was connected, leading to the traffic stop. He said it looked like everything had been turned over to the prosecutor's office, and for more information I'd need to speak with them. I tried calling my mom and there was no answer. I tried texting and the same thing, even though it shows red. I'm unfortunately still conflicted about sending my mom to jail. She's been in there a night already, and from what I was told, she didn't take it well. It is pretty understandable that someone might be conflicted about doing this. I mean, no one wants to have to report their own parents to the police. Even if, let's be honest, they kinda deserved it. But OP had two choices here. Let their mom off the hook, and now they're stuck with $30K in debt and destroyed credit, or turn her in and make her face the consequences of her own actions. Wife refuses life-saving air and kills husband because she hates the color black. The story happened back in 2020 during the pandemic. At the time, I worked for a medical supply delivery company. We would go to different locations, usually a house or residence, and deliver home care medical equipment like beds, IVs, and oxygen devices. It was a hard job that was severely understaffed, but I needed the money and most of the customers were super appreciative. Then there was this one lady. Her husband was the one in need of care. He was clearly not doing so well physically and mentally, and while I never learned exactly what his health problems were, it was very clear he was having trouble breathing, as he was wheezing constantly. I had to deal with older people all the time in this job, and while they will sometimes moan about things from my poor work ethic, while carrying a bed up 3 flights of stairs by myself, to my long hair, to whatever else they felt like that day, they never really gave me much issue with the actual products. They might have some standard questions about how the buttons work, but this stuff was built with older people in mind, and worst case, they usually had a kid or grandchild around I could explain this to instead. So as long as I kept my mouth shut and did my job, I could usually get in and out without much issue. Not this time. I came to deliver a portable oxygen concentrator. If you've never seen one, imagine a black device about the size and shape of a small luggage bag that comes up a bit past your knee. These are medical grade and often used in hospitals and can work for days continuously without issue. I had dropped off dozens of these before and never had any complaints about them. But the lady refused to take it because she hated the color black. She was refusing a life-saving medical device that her husband clearly needed just because she didn't like the color. Well, my boss was a customer is always right kind of guy, and I had to go back and pick up every different model of concentrator we had. Most of them were also black, and all about the same size, but we did have one that was baby blue and another that was tan. They all work equally effectively, so as long as she takes one, it doesn't matter. But she still hates the colors and wanted a dark purple one for some reason. She also complained about the size and wanted a much smaller model about the size of a dinner plate. I told her we don't carry those models because they are very expensive and only meant to last a couple of hours, not days like this model. She insisted she get a smaller model that could actually last for days, which doesn't exist, and is also in purple. I tell her we can't deliver that and it's take what we have or nothing. She chooses nothing. I practically beg her to take some air tanks at least. The air tanks we carry are medical standard. They are a lot bigger and bulkier, being made of metal and going up your thigh, and only last 3 or 4 hours. But if there is an emergency, they will last long enough for an oxygen concentrator to be sent over, or for him to be taken to the hospital. She demands a smaller model, about the size of an aerosol can. I tell her we don't carry those, because they are only good for about 10 minutes, and meant more for recreation, and once again, it's what we have or nothing. She again chooses nothing. I explain this all to my boss, and have no choice but to leave without giving them anything to help the husband breathe. I do leave some breathing masks so that when they do find a concentrator they like, they can use those, but besides that, they don't get anything. Cut ahead about 10 hours to 2 a.m. The company I worked for had a 24-hour service line where we would deliver anything at any time of the day. Mostly pointless, as most days there were no calls, and most of the few we did get were just people looking to yell at someone. But I got overtime, so whatever. This time it was a real delivery request, as the husband has had a turn for the worse, and the lady wants the concentrator now and doesn't care about the size and color all of a sudden. I ask if they also want more masks, but my boss informs me that the lady still has the ones I gave them earlier, so they just need a concentrator. It takes around 2 hours for me to go pick up the concentrator, then drive to their house to drop it off. Guys, she didn't have any masks. She threw them away. Without the masks, the concentrator doesn't work. So now I have to drive almost an hour back to our warehouse to pick up some masks, and then drive back. Except I don't, because 20 minutes after I leave, I get a call from my boss saying that the husband died. And of course, this is somehow my fault. The lady rejected every bit of help for petty reasons, lied to me and my boss about what she had, and refused to take her husband to the emergency room, instead deciding to wait 2 hours for something that might not have even saved him in the first place. But this is somehow my fault. I quit the next day. I refused to take the blame for this lady's absolute stupidity, and I refused to let my boss try to pin this on me when he was well aware of her insane demands and constant lying. I don't know what happened to her or the company after this. They had 3 workers, including myself, and all were quitting within a week of each other. But I also don't care. Nothing ever came back around to me, so I don't have to worry about being sued or anything. I'll just let this lady, if she's still out there, continue to blame me for her mistakes. Edit. For those people suggesting this was an intentional act to get the husband killed, I highly doubt that. Some people really are just this stupid, and anyone who works in any medical field will attest, people really can be this petty and self-destructive. And while it didn't really translate well in the story, this woman really did not seem that smart. As for those claiming I should have reported this to the police, as I stated in the story, my boss was on the customer side. He was fully ready to back her up despite everything he knew. It would have been my word versus both the woman and my boss, and I had no video or anything as proof. There is no way the police would have taken my side. It sucks, but that's what a terrible boss will do to you. Well friends, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching. As always, I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Reddit stories. So I'm out of here. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you all next time.